My sister took out a $200,000 loan in my name to fund her lavish wedding. Now she's begging for forgiveness. But it's too late to undo what I've done. The email came on a quiet Wednesday morning. I had just finished my second cup of coffee and was going through my client invoices when I saw the subject line payment overdue. $10, $847 due immediately. I clicked thinking it was spam, but it wasn't. It was from a legitimate bank with my full name, address, and account details listed exactly as they should be. The panic hit me like a punch to the chest. I never took out any loan, let alone one for $200,000. My hands trembled as I clicked through the account summary. The loan was real. My name was on it. The signature was mine, or at least it looked like mine. And the money had already been dispersed. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, my brain refusing to process what I was seeing. This couldn't be happening. Who would do this? Why? I picked up the phone and called the bank. After 10 minutes of hold music and 3 layers of verification, I finally got an answer that turned my blood cold. The funds had been transferred into a joint account under the names Amber Mitchell and Jonathan Lee. Amber, my sister, my only sibling, the one I had bailed out more times than I could count, the one I trusted more than anyone. She had done this. She had stolen my identity, forged my signature, and left me on the hook for $200,000. And all for what? A wedding, a show, a fantasy. That was the day everything changed. My name is Claire Mitchell. I'm 32 years old, and I've spent most of my adult life trying to be the responsible one. After losing our mother to cancer when I was 17, and our dad slowly slipping into early retirement, it fell on me to hold the family together. My younger sister Amber was always the dreamer. She was popular, magnetic, and dramatic. Where I was quiet and methodical, she was loud and spontaneous, and people loved her for it. I built a life that made sense, solid, predictable, honest. I studied accounting at the University of Colorado, graduated with honors, and started freelancing straight out of school. Now I work from my small 2-bedroom condo in Denver, helping small businesses stay afloat with clean books and honest advice. I live alone by choice. I like things quiet. I like routines. I like control. Amber, on the other hand, chased sparkle. She moved to Los Angeles at 20, tried acting, then modeling, then fashion school. She worked part-time at a boutique and posted aspirational content on social media. When that didn't pay the bills, she moved back to Denver and reinvented herself as a freelance stylist. She dressed well, talked fast, and seemed to always know someone important. People assumed she was successful. But I knew the truth. I was the one who paid her credit card bills when rent swallowed her paycheck. I was the one who co-signed her first car loan, then paid off the remainder when she forgot. She always promised to pay me back. She never did. And still I loved her. I protected her. I wanted her to succeed, even when she didn't deserve it. When she started dating Jonathan, a former event planner turned luxury brand consultant, I had my doubts. He was charming, but shallow, all suits and smiles and empty plans. Amber said he was the one after 6 weeks. I tried to be supportive. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe he would ground her. When they got engaged after 3 months, I smiled and offered to help. I assumed they'd have a modest ceremony. After all, neither of them had steady income. But suddenly there were whispers of Aspen venues, designer gowns, imported flowers. Amber brushed off my concerns. Relax, Claire, we've got it covered. I didn't push. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she had grown up, that she had finally taken control of her life. But deep down I knew. I knew her taste was bigger than her budget. I knew her dreams had always come with someone else's bill. What I didn't know was how far she was willing to go. That she would use me, use my name, my credit, my identity to chase that fantasy. That she would turn my life into collateral for her Instagram perfect wedding. I was the big sister. I was supposed to be the safe one, the anchor. And she had taken that anchor and tied it around my neck. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a calculated choice. She had to find my social security number, forge my signature, and submit those documents. She knew exactly what she was doing, and that's what hurt the most. I spent the rest of that morning calling the bank demanding answers, hoping for some kind of clerical error. But every time I spoke to a representative, the facts only became more damning. The loan had been approved 3 weeks ago. The application was submitted online using my full legal name, social security number, and address. A digital signature had been verified through an e-signature service that matched their records. The funds had been transferred within 48 hours to a joint checking account under the names Amber Mitchell and Jonathan Lee. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I had never authorized any of this. I had never even spoken to this bank before. "Ma'am," the woman on the phone said gently, "I'm afraid unless you file a fraud report, we will have to assume the loan is legitimate." Legitimate? That word echoed in my skull like a gunshot. Amber had made it legitimate by pretending to be me. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen. My emails blurred together. I felt sick. I thought back to the last few weeks, the strange little things I had brushed off without question. Amber asking for my Wi-Fi password again, even though she'd been to my place 100 times. Her asking to borrow my laptop to check her email while her phone was charging. The time she came by for dinner and stayed in the kitchen longer than necessary unsupervised. At the time, it didn't mean anything. Now, it meant everything. I pulled up my own bank accounts, my real ones. My balances were untouched. But my credit. That was another story. I logged into my credit monitoring account and saw the red alert almost immediately. A new inquiry. A hard pull. A new installment loan opened in my name, $200,000 with monthly payments of $10,847, due in 5 days. My stomach turned. I wasn't just a victim. I was now liable. This loan would ruin me. If I didn't make payments, my credit score would nosedive. Debt collectors would start calling. I could lose my condo. I could lose everything I had worked for. My pulse pounded in my ears as I printed out the loan documents the bank had emailed me. Every page felt like a slap in the face. My name, my birth date, my forged signature almost perfect. But not quite. There was a hesitation in the curl of the C in Claire, a twitch in the M of Mitchell. Amber had studied my handwriting, but she wasn't me, and I could prove it. I took photos of every page and saved them in a secure folder. Then I began digging. I found the exact e-signature service used by the bank. I contacted them posing as a customer, needing to understand how verification worked. They told me it logged IP addresses, timestamps, and device IDs. I asked them if I could file a fraud inquiry. They said yes, but I'd need a police report. A police report. Against my own sister. I wasn't ready for that yet. I still held on to a sliver of hope. Maybe she would explain, maybe there was a mistake. Maybe she would apologize and offer to fix it. But before I could confront her, I needed proof. Hard proof. I needed to be sure beyond all doubt that this was intentional. That night, I drove past the venue Amber had posted about on her Instagram stories, the Aspen Ridge Estate. It was a luxury resort nestled in the Colorado mountains, usually booked a year in advance. But not for Amber. She had pulled it off in 4 months. Her story showed a rehearsal dinner with fairy lights, champagne towers, custom menus. Jonathan in a white tuxedo, Amber in a pearl-studded dress. Hashtag Mitchell Lee Wedding. It was all there. Documented, celebrated, funded by stolen money. My money. I clicked through the photos looking for clues. One image caught my attention. A table with name cards. I zoomed in. There it was, Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan Lee. Table 1 on custom-printed gold-trimmed paper. The kind of detail you could only afford with a big budget. I wasn't invited to the wedding. Amber told me they were keeping it small. She said she would do a reception later just for family. I believed her. I didn't realize the only reason I wasn't there was because I had already paid for it. I closed the app and sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. She didn't just lie. She erased me, used me, replaced me. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in bed with all the documents laid out around me. Loan agreements, screenshots, bank statements, wedding posts. I began building a timeline. March 10th, loan application submitted. March 12th, loan approved. March 13th, funds transferred. March 15th, down payment to Aspen Ridge Estate. March 18th, invoice from bridal boutique posted online. March 22nd, Amber picks up custom-designed wedding bands. Every single detail was traceable. Every transaction linked directly to the loan account I never authorized. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a blueprint, a calculated theft, and it was about to become a very serious problem for her. The next morning, I drove to Amber's apartment without calling ahead. I needed to look her in the eyes. I needed to see her reaction when I showed her what she'd done. When she opened the door, she looked radiant, like someone who had just stepped out of a spa. Her skin glowed, her hair was curled, and she was wearing a silk robe that looked suspiciously expensive. "Claire, wow, what a surprise. Is everything okay?" I didn't answer right away. I stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Her place was immaculate, decorated in soft neutrals with gold accents. Wedding photos already framed on the mantel. Jonathan wasn't home. I pulled the stack of printed documents from my purse and laid them on her marble countertop. "What's this?" she asked, frowning. "You tell me," I said. "Because according to the bank, you took out a $200,000 loan using my name. You forged my signature. You stole my identity. And you used that money to throw yourself a wedding I wasn't even invited to." Her face paled. She didn't deny it immediately. She just stared at the papers like they were written in another language. Then slowly she started to shake her head. "Claire, I don't know what this is. I swear I didn't do anything like that." "Don't lie to me," I snapped. "The money went to your joint account. I've got the transfer records. The IP address that submitted the application came from your apartment. You used my laptop. You accessed my old email account. I know everything." She started to cry. Big, dramatic tears that she had perfected over the years. "It was a mistake," she said. "I was desperate. We didn't have enough for the venue deposit. And Jonathan said your credit was strong. I thought you'd understand. You always help me." I stared at her. "You thought I'd understand, Amber. This isn't borrowing a dress. This is federal fraud. You forged my signature. You committed a crime." Her expression shifted. The tears dried up, her jaw tightened. "Why are you making such a big deal out of this? You always said you'd support me. You knew how important this wedding was to me." "So important you were willing to destroy my financial future?" I asked. "I could lose my condo. My credit is wrecked. I might be liable for all of it. Do you even care?" She crossed her arms. "You're overreacting. It's not like you don't have savings. You don't even spend your money. What's the point of hoarding it if it doesn't help family?" I took a step back, stunned. Her entitlement was breathtaking. "Family," I said quietly. "Is that what this is to you? Family means using me like a bank account and lying to my face." She shrugged. "You don't get it. You've never been in love. You don't know what it's like to want something so badly it hurts. So you took it from me," I said. "Because I was safe. Because I always clean up your messes." "Not this time, Amber. This time you went too far." "So what, you're going to call the cops on your own sister?" she asked, her voice sharp, now the mask slipping. "You're going to ruin my life because of a little loan?" "You already ruined mine," I said, and then I walked out. I sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes after leaving her apartment, hands gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white. My entire body trembled, not from fear, but from rage. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. Instead, I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. I wasn't done. I needed more than confrontation. I needed confirmation. Cold, hard proof that no one could argue with. That night, I combed through my old email accounts and laptop logs. I found a login to my rarely used Yahoo account from an IP address that matched Amber's apartment. The password had been reset 4 weeks ago. She had access. I then called the e-signature service the bank used, posing as an identity theft victim. They confirmed that yes, the signature had been completed through a verified device, and yes, they had recorded the exact IP time and device ID. I requested a fraud investigation. Then I opened up my digital calendar and marked the date. I printed every piece of digital evidence, timestamps, IP logs, my own usage records from that date, proving I was on a video call at the time the loan was signed. I took screenshots of Amber's wedding expenses, cross-referenced the timestamps with the loan disbursement timeline. Everything lined up perfectly. The money had hit her account on a Thursday. By Saturday, she had posted photos at a bridal boutique holding a Vera Wang gown. By Monday, she had placed a catering order for 250 guests. Then I turned to my own bank records, checking for anything that looked unfamiliar. That's when I noticed a $79 charge from a notary service. I called the company, explained I was doing a security audit. The man on the line hesitated, but confirmed the notary had validated a power of attorney document submitted digitally with my name on it. I never authorized any such document, but Amber had. I obtained a copy and stared at it for a long time. The signature was mine, but also not. Too perfect, too smooth. I compared it to old lease documents I had signed. The differences were small, but obvious to a trained eye. I contacted a handwriting expert I knew through a former client sent the documents for analysis. 3 days later, I had a signed affidavit, the signature on the loan application, and power of attorney form was likely forged. Probability of forgery over 90%. The next step was more difficult. I needed to check the joint account Amber had used. I didn't have access, but I knew someone who might. Years ago, I had helped Amber set up her online banking. She had used a password she once told me in passing her old cat's name and her birth year. I tried it. On the third attempt, I was in. My heart pounded as the dashboard loaded. The recent activity was staggering. One transaction after another bleeding out that $200,000 like water from a broken pipe. Payments to wedding planners, a florist, a cake designer, a luxury limo service. A $6,000 invoice from a string quartet. A $2,000 designer ring box. A $4,700 charge at a spa. I took screenshots of everything. I saved the PDF statements and backed them up in 2 separate drives. This wasn't just carelessness. It was indulgence, pure and unchecked. I even found payments to Instagram ad managers and influencers likely to promote wedding photos and videos. Amber had built a fantasy and financed it with stolen money. But the worst came when I stumbled upon a payment to a rental in Tulum, Mexico, dated just 2 weeks after the wedding. A honeymoon. I clicked the reservation details. It was a villa beachfront 6 nights. The reservation was made under Jonathan's name, but for 2 guests. Curious, I searched further. On Instagram, Jonathan had posted nothing. But through a tagged photo, I found a woman named Vanessa. She was blonde, stunning, and very familiar looking. I scrolled back and found a post from 2 years ago, Jonathan and Vanessa at a music festival, arms around each other. So I checked her Tulum photos, and there he was, Jonathan, with Vanessa sipping cocktails on the beach during what was supposed to be his honeymoon with Amber. I sat back in my chair numb. The betrayal wasn't just mine anymore. Amber had used me to fund a wedding for a man who was cheating on her. The irony was almost poetic. I printed the photos, the payment receipts, the vacation booking. My evidence binder was now over an inch thick. It was no longer a question of whether I had a case. The only question left was how far did I want to take it? The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about the photos. Jonathan tan and shirtless holding hands with Vanessa in Tulum, their smiles glowing against a sunset backdrop. The villa they stayed in had floor-to-ceiling windows, an infinity pool, and ocean views. I remembered Amber posting a blurry selfie during the same week, something vague about being on a digital detox and unreachable for a few days. Now I knew why. She wasn't on a detox. She was hiding. I drove back to her apartment, binder in hand, heart pounding, and rang the bell. She answered slower this time, makeup-free hair pulled into a tight bun. "Claire, why are you back? We need to talk," I said. "Now." She stepped aside reluctantly. The glow of wedding bliss had faded. The apartment smelled like burnt coffee and something stale. I laid the binder on her coffee table and opened it to the photos. Her eyes scanned the images, widening, then freezing. Jonathan and Vanessa, kissing, laughing, drinking wine. "Where did you get these?" she whispered. "Doesn't matter. What matters is what you didn't tell me, that he was cheating on you, that you knew, and that you still went through with it, using my name, my future, my credit." She sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her weight. "I didn't know until after the wedding," she murmured. "I saw a message on his phone the night we got back from Aspen. He admitted it, said it was a mistake from before we were serious." "Amber," I said. "They were in Tulum together 2 weeks later. That wasn't before. That was your honeymoon. She stared at the photos again, silent tears falling. Why didn't you say anything? I pressed. Why go along with it? She shook her head. Because I was already in too deep. The wedding was paid for, people flew in from everywhere. I couldn't call it off, I couldn't lose everything. I thought maybe if I ignored it, it would go away. Her voice cracked, and I saw something break behind her eyes. Not just guilt, humiliation, regret, and fear. So you let me carry it instead, I said quietly. You handed me the fallout while you lived a lie in a white dress. She didn't respond. I stood up and gathered the binder. You might have fooled everyone else, Amber, but not me. I see you for exactly what you are now, and I'm done cleaning up your mess. As I walked to the door, she called out softly, "What are you going to do?" I didn't look back. You'll find out soon enough. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up organizing the binder, labeling every section, forged documents, bank transfers, email evidence, the power of attorney scam, the wedding purchases, the honeymoon affair. I made copies, digital backups, a cloud folder with restricted access. Then I called a lawyer, Patricia Grant, an identity theft specialist I found through a legal aid network. We met the next morning in her office, a modest space tucked between a bakery and a dentist near downtown Denver. I laid the binder on her desk and opened to the summary page. She read in silence, flipping through photos, receipts, and reports. After 20 minutes, she sat back and looked at me. "Claire," she said, "this is one of the most thorough civilian cases I've seen in a long time. What your sister did is not just fraud, it's calculated sustained identity theft. We can pursue both criminal and civil action." My throat tightened. "But she's my sister." Patricia didn't flinch. "Then she should have thought twice before she signed your name to a $200,000 loan. Family doesn't shield people from consequences. It makes betrayal more serious." We began the paperwork immediately. A formal fraud report was filed with the bank. A cease and desist letter was prepared for Amber, demanding repayment and admission of guilt. A notification was sent to the credit bureau disputing the loan and launching an investigation. Patricia advised me to freeze my credit across all 3 bureaus to prevent further damage. I did it within the hour. Then we moved to public action. I contacted every vendor Amber had paid for the wedding, the venue, caterers, florist, event planner. I informed them in legal language that they had been paid with fraudulent funds and were part of an active investigation. Patricia said they wouldn't be liable, but their cooperation would help prove intent. Several responded quickly. The florist sent over email threads confirming Amber had paid rush fees and demanded only premium imported orchids. The venue forwarded a copy of the signed rental agreement with her and Jonathan's signatures. It included her stating she had independent financial means. Meanwhile, Patricia reached out to the local police department's financial crimes unit. A detective was assigned to begin interviews. Amber's apartment was listed as a location of interest. But I didn't stop there. I remembered how proud Amber had been to land her styling contract with Vita Luxe, a Denver-based boutique chain. She styled social media shoots and worked with influencers. I sent them an anonymous tip along with redacted documents showing her involvement in fraud and photos of her lavish honeymoon paid for with stolen money. They launched an internal review within 2 days. Amber's contract was suspended pending investigation. She posted cryptic Instagram stories, quotes about betrayal and losing everything, but she didn't name me, not yet. I didn't care. The truth was moving forward, and she could either keep lying or brace for the wave. I wasn't done. I composed a polite, neutral email and mailed it to 32 people guests who had attended the wedding. Family, old friends, aunts and uncles. It read, "You may not be aware, but the wedding you attended last month was financed through a loan fraudulently taken out in my name. I am currently working with legal authorities to resolve the matter. If you are contacted as part of the investigation, I appreciate your cooperation." I attached no files, no drama, just facts. The silence afterward was deafening. A few people responded with sympathy. Most didn't respond at all. But I knew the whispers would begin. Amber had built her life around image. Now it was cracking. Meanwhile, Patricia worked to calculate restitution. If we could prove Amber had used the loan solely for personal gain, not joint benefit, she would be liable to repay the full amount plus interest and damages. We could pursue asset seizure liens and wage garnishment. We might even have grounds for jail time. It was more than I ever imagined, and it was what she deserved. Still, I felt hollow. I thought punishing her would feel powerful, but it just felt quiet, heavy, like mourning. I missed the version of Amber I used to believe in, but she was never real, just someone I created to feel less alone. On a Friday afternoon, I got a call from Patricia. The detective interviewed Jonathan, she said. "You're going to want to hear this." According to the report, Jonathan had known nothing about the loan. Amber told him her father left her an inheritance, and she was using it to pay for the wedding. When confronted with the honeymoon affair, he confessed everything. Vanessa had been in the picture for over a year. Amber found out 2 months before the wedding, but went through with it anyway. "He's willing to provide a statement," Patricia said. "Not because he cares about you, but to save himself." "Let him," I replied. "The more truth, the better." That weekend, I received a voicemail from Amber. She sounded small, broken. "Claire, please stop. I don't know what else to do. Everything's falling apart. My job, my reputation. I never meant to hurt you like this. I just wanted one perfect thing in my life. Just one. I didn't think you'd fight back like this." I replayed it twice, listening for any sign of remorse. There was none. Just fear and regret, but only for getting caught. I didn't respond. I forwarded the voicemail to Patricia. By Monday morning, things moved quickly. Patricia filed both the criminal complaint and the civil suit. The criminal case handled by the Denver County District Attorney included charges of identity theft fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation. The civil suit focused on restitution and damages. We requested full repayment of the $200,000 loan, the removal of the debt from my credit, and punitive damages for emotional distress, financial disruption, and reputational harm. A judge signed off on a temporary injunction, freezing Amber's personal assets. Her accounts were placed under review. She was served that same afternoon at her apartment by a process server. The same apartment I had visited just days before, binder in hand, full of hope that she would apologize. Now there would be no conversation, only consequences. She texted me 3 hours later. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We can work something out without dragging lawyers into it." I didn't respond. She followed up with a voicemail. "I'll pay you back. I promise. Just give me some time. Don't do this, please." But I had already done it. There was no turning back. Not after what she'd done. Not after how carefully she planned it, how deeply she manipulated me. The bank's fraud team moved quickly. With the police report and legal documentation in hand, they paused collections and began their own internal investigation. A representative from the fraud division contacted me directly. "Ms. Mitchell, your case is one of the most well-documented we've ever seen. Our review aligns with your allegations. We're moving to formally remove you from liability pending final review." My hands shook as I ended the call. It wasn't over yet, but I could finally breathe. Then came the public fallout. Vida Lux terminated Amber's contract the same week. She was removed from all campaigns and styling credits. Word spread quickly among the Denver fashion scene. Stylists, photographers, designers, people she once called friends unfollowed her. Clients canceled bookings. Her image, so carefully curated, cracked in real time. The boutique she once boasted about working with sent her a cease and desist to stop using their name on social media. The whispers became silence. She disappeared from Instagram for days. Then she came back. She posted a long, blurry black and white photo with a caption about healing from betrayal and forgiving those who weaponize love. Comments were disabled. Meanwhile, the district attorney's office subpoenaed bank records. Amber was summoned for an initial hearing. She appeared in court wearing a plain black dress, her eyes swollen, her voice subdued. Jonathan didn't attend. Her lawyer entered a plea of not guilty. I sat in the gallery with Patricia beside me. Amber looked at me once briefly. There was no apology in her eyes, only anger, fear, embarrassment. We didn't speak. The judge set a date for the next hearing and allowed the civil suit to proceed in parallel. That evening, I received another call, this time from our father. He had just found out. Amber hadn't told him. Someone from church had seen a local news article about the case and called him. "Claire," he said slowly. "Is it true I told him everything? The loan, the signature, the fake documents, the wedding, the affair, the stolen future." He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. "I don't know who she is anymore." I said, "Neither do I." He didn't defend her. He didn't ask me to back off. He just said, "I'm sorry. I wish I had seen it sooner." For the first time in weeks, I cried. Not because I was angry, but because it finally felt like someone saw me. All of me. Not just the sister, not just the victim, but the woman who refused to let it break her. Patricia called again later that week. "The civil court has granted full asset review. We can move forward with garnishment if necessary." I asked her, "What happens if she doesn't have anything left?" "Then we take what she will earn in the future," she said. Debt follows behavior. She created this. She owns the fallout. By the time the second court date arrived, Amber looked like a shadow of herself. Her hair, once styled with precision, was pulled back into a limp ponytail. Her clothes were plain, her face pale, her shoulders hunched. Gone was the confident, vibrant woman who had filled her world with curated joy and performative happiness. In her place was someone unraveling under the weight of consequences. Her lawyer attempted a last-minute plea deal offering to settle the civil suit if we dropped the criminal charges. Patricia refused. "We don't bargain with betrayal," she said. In court, the judge reviewed the bank's findings: identity theft, confirmed signature forgery, verified financial intent established. The case was now being considered for felony prosecution. The maximum sentence could be up to 5 years in prison. Amber's face crumpled as the judge listed the charges. It wasn't about jail time, not yet, but it was about the record, the stain, the irreversible mark on her name. As for the civil suit, the court granted me full restitution, $200,000 in damages, plus an additional $50,000 for punitive and emotional harm. The judge also approved wage garnishment once Amber regained employment and placed a lien on any future tax refunds. Her assets were seized, the luxury honeymoon villa payments were traced, the vendor credits canceled, the bank froze what little remained. Jonathan, once silent, issued a public statement through his own lawyer, distancing himself from Amber. "I was unaware of the source of the wedding funds," the statement read. "I was misled and deceived." He moved out of their apartment and filed for annulment within a month. Amber was left alone. Jobless, reputation shattered, social circle evaporated. Even family began to distance themselves. Cousins stopped calling. Aunts stopped replying. Her name became synonymous with scandal and shame. Meanwhile, I returned to my life. Slowly. I hired a credit repair consultant. I resumed my client meetings. I started sleeping again, eating again, laughing again. People asked me if I regretted it, taking legal action against my own sister. I always said the same thing. I didn't choose this. She did. Because that's the truth. I didn't draw the line. Amber crossed it. And when she didn't just steal money. She stole trust. She shattered the very foundation of our relationship and expected me to help sweep up the mess. But not this time. This time she learned that actions have consequences, and those consequences were real. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. It wasn't easy, but it was steady. I moved into a smaller condo outside the city, quieter, with mountain views and space to breathe. I stopped tracking Amber's movements online. I blocked her number. I asked friends not to bring her up. My life was no longer a stage for her to trample. I refocused on my work, gaining new clients through word of mouth. The case had unexpectedly boosted my visibility. People respected the way I had handled it. I was asked to speak on a panel about financial safety and identity protection. I started getting emails from strangers. Women, mostly, some younger, some much older, sharing their own stories of betrayal by family. Sisters, cousins, children, spouses. People they had trusted. People who had turned their kindness into leverage. I answered every message, sometimes just with a short reply, sometimes with long paragraphs of empathy. I didn't offer legal advice. I offered solidarity. Truth is betrayal by a loved one doesn't just hurt. It rewires your brain. It makes you question everything, your memory, your judgment, your worth. For weeks, I thought maybe I had failed Amber. Maybe I had missed signs. Maybe I had been too cold, too distant, too rigid. But no, I was not the one who broke the rules. I was the one who enforced them when no one else would. I visited my dad one weekend. We sat in his backyard sipping coffee, watching the leaves fall. "You did what needed to be done," he said. "You protected yourself. And in a way, you protected her too. Now she can't pretend anymore." I nodded. We didn't say much after that. We didn't need to. Some things only parents and daughters can understand. I didn't find closure in the courtroom. I found it in the quiet moments. The mornings when I woke up without anxiety curling in my chest. The afternoons when I didn't check my credit score like a pulse. The evenings when I could make dinner and not think about debt collectors. I was whole again. Not because she apologized. She never did. But because I stopped waiting for her to. I stopped hoping she'd become someone else. And I started believing in who I was, someone who could be hurt and still choose truth over silence. Someone who could be betrayed and still stand. I didn't become cold. I became clear. Clear about what I will tolerate. Clear about what I will never allow again. And that clarity, that was the beginning of my freedom. Looking back now, I realize betrayal doesn't always come in loud, violent waves. Sometimes it arrives dressed as love. It sounds like family speaks in promises and wears the smile of someone you've trusted your entire life. That's what makes it so devastating. It doesn't just take your money. It takes your reality. For a long time, I carried the shame of what Amber did, as if it reflected on me. I kept asking myself the same question. How could I not have seen it? But healing taught me that trust isn't weakness. It's a strength. Trusting others, even when they don't deserve it, doesn't mean you failed. It means you're still capable of believing in good. And believing in good is not naive. It's human. What's dangerous is believing that love should excuse anything. That family is a free pass. That blood erases all debt. It doesn't. What Amber did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, 100 little choices that led to one massive betrayal. She chose lies over truth, image over integrity, self over sisterhood. And when the truth came, she wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught, and that more than anything told me who she really was. The lesson isn't to stop trusting. It's to protect yourself while you do, to ask questions, to check the numbers, to keep your name locked and your boundaries firmer than your guilt. Because guilt is what people like Amber use. They use your silence. They feed on your reluctance to cause waves. But silence doesn't save relationships. Truth does. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold someone accountable. Even if it breaks your heart, even if it means walking away, even if it's your own sister. Today, I live a smaller, quieter life. But it's honest, it's peaceful, and it's mine. No lies, no stolen names, just me and the freedom that comes from knowing I chose truth. Every time.